As small business owners, every decision we make has to balance cost, growth, and impact. One of the smartest strategic decisions we can make today is moving into a virtual workspace. In this session, Sidoni Naismith breaks down how virtual workspace environments help businesses scale faster, save on overhead, and create the flexibility needed to tap into new markets. We'll talk about how the right tools can boost productivity, streamline communication, and improve customer engagement, all while building a strong company culture even when your team is remote. From reducing reliance on email to eliminating silos with collaboration tools, Sidoni shares practical strategies and applications that could show how virtual workspaces aren't just about working online. They're about running your business smarter, saving money, and setting yourself up for growth. Let's explore how to make virtual workspaces a powerful tool for your strategic move in scaling your business. Let's dive in.
We are talking about virtual workspaces, so we're going to define virtual workspaces and who can benefit from them. We're going to identify some reasons to consider why you need a virtual workspace for your small business. And of course, we're going to give some examples of workspaces. And this is somewhat of a two-part series, so we will continue this on our next session as well. So the future of work is remote. And this is what is coming from Forbes. And not necessarily that everyone is going remote, but people are continuing to work remotely and for whatever their life benefits are, whether it's to operate more functionally as a company or they find that it's a better work-life balance. Companies are allowing employees to stay home and work for productivity reasons, and also just to be able to offer this as a benefit. For small businesses, a lot of small businesses went remote during the pandemic. And as a result, a lot has decided to stay remote. A lot of people are forming new businesses right now, and they're trying to figure out how to best manage, one from a financial standpoint, and the other from a standpoint of, hey, I just may not be able to afford a physical location right now, so I have to operate remotely. All of those reasons are valid, and some of the reasons why we're bringing you this session today. So let's talk about workspaces. What are virtual workspaces? Last time we talked about a physical workspace. You are working remotely, but what does your desk look like? What does your area look like? What is the ambiance? And how are you getting through your day? How do you remain productive so that you could be your best self for your client? Now, this is from a virtual standpoint. You know, in terms of what are the technology tools that you have available that will help you to not only, when you take a look at the physical aspect of it and you are ready and amped up and ready to work and serve your clients, but now you have the tools to help you to better, optimize the experience, not only for the client, but for yourself, for your staff, whether they are internal or external. Just helping them in that way. What is a virtual workspace? Well, a virtual workspace is a place where people go digitally to do their work, basically without a physical location. Regardless of where they're working, they are working from anywhere. And you're able to do this through this virtual workspace because you have all the tools you need, preferably. Virtual workspace can be found in some of the software that we currently use, whether or not we acknowledge that we have a full workspace, whether we have access to all of it to make it sort of one unit. We do have tools that we can work and to communicate with, whether it's our customers, our staff, or contractors, you name it, just for communication. It's a great business strategy to have a workspace. It could help you to recruit, to train, and to develop employees to succeed. Now, we've talked about this a few times, about whether or not you actually have an employee, because small businesses, sometimes you don't have employees, but you do have contractors or freelancers or people that you collaborate with. So that's the idea, to be able to whether hire someone and train them your way in terms of how you would like to do business, and introduce them to the tools that you have. And at least that's what I do, working with contractors and working with people that are not physically in my presence. I have to use tools, and it's the same way when you are working virtually and you are looking for collaboration. One big thing is it makes a huge difference with customer retention when you have certain tools in place. And having a workspace, it's like one house that has all of the tools that you need. So therefore, you will have tools that will help you with your customers to be able to better communicate and relate to them, and so that they can get to you quickly, efficiently, and they could feel that they're important. We talked about in the past how much customers are willing to leave to go to a competitor or some other company if they feel that they're not being treated the way they want to be treated as a customer. Well, the thing about that is basically they need the attention that they need in order to continue to spend with you and to stay loyal. So here are some reasons to consider a virtual workspace for your business. Scalability. So when we talk about scalability, we talk about something that you can basically replicate, something that will improve your systems and your efficiency and however you do business. So one way, we just talked about staff, and you can increase your staff involvement largely just through having virtual teams. And again, it's not necessarily someone that works as an employee, but someone that is a part of your team. You save a lot of time by having certain tools in place. You can look at productivity, you can look at collaboration, and you have a lot of tools in your hand. So you can scale your business without even thinking too much about how much you'll need to spend on space, right? You don't have certain overhead costs. So when you're talking about scaling as well, you're thinking about, how do you make profits and that continues to go up, and where you're sort of at a safe spot with costs. You can certainly do that with this, and you'll have flexibility as well. Reduce costs, increased margins. So when you have reduced costs, you're significantly reducing your costs when you are working remotely, and you're also having this virtual solution where you don't have to physically go anywhere, because you don't need to look at security costs. You don't need to in terms of anything physical. Of course, you need to be able to protect your systems, but when you tend to have a virtual workspace solution, a lot of the securities and that you had to purchase individually for protection of your systems, that's included in your package, sort of. You don't have to worry about any in-office costs, any sort of insurance that includes anyone physically being there. Some travel expenses if you're not traveling too much, meetings and conferences, and any outsourcing type costs that you would relatively use when you are in a physical, environment. A lot of times, again, your tools are right there for you. And because you're reducing costs, naturally your net profits would improve, so your margins would improve, and because you are cutting costs, and that is a factor of that. New market opportunities. Now this one is big. A lot of businesses realized during the pandemic that they could actually speak to anyone, anywhere, as long as they jump on a meeting or a webinar. Now, having this virtual workspace is great because now you're not only able to incorporate, your chats and your meetings and all of that with anyone basically in the world, you're also able to have tools in the back end that can track, that could send follow-up notes, that you can automate and use your systems. Of course, you could have jumped on a webinar before, but what is the action after that? So the tools that you have in place would help you with that, because you're in one world, so to speak. You can also hire from anywhere and have this person within your environment as well. And the environment, again, is that house that you've created that's virtual, and this is your workspace. Increase customer engagement. Increase customer engagement, that is pretty big. Now, through your external links that you're able to incorporate, you can actually see when some of your customers are visiting, whether products or services, sometimes your website. You have analytics that could tell you that through these tools. You have chat, you have calendars, you have customer portals, which are pretty nice. So your customers don't have to email things to you back and forth if they feel that they have information that is proprietary to them and they don't really want to risk sending it via email. Then of course you can have your customers upload documents. You can share files through collaboration tools, and the chat is really, really cool as well. If you have that, most workspaces have that, where they could just upload and add a document if you wanted to do that as a quick chat. So by doing all of that, you're increasing the connectivity with your customer. And this is significant because they feel that they can have that self-serve, they can actually be able to do that on their own time, whether it's uploading files. Like for myself, when I'm working with my accountant, I'm uploading my files and my accountant is pulling them whenever, right? So I'm doing that whenever I have time by the set time that we have spoken about. So that works. Now, I feel as a customer, I feel really good about that because I'm able to, on my own time, do that because we have created or built an infrastructure that we can do that. I'll tell you one other thing. It's on the customer side, but it's also on your side as a business that is actually really good. Because you have certain tools in place, sometimes you deal with other small businesses, as you're growing your company, and they may not have the tools in place. So it's almost like you're not forcing them, but you kind of just introduce your tools to them. So everything is pretty much housed under your umbrella. So you really have access to the things that normally you would hand off to a contractor or a service provider or a third party or so that you would normally just be doing business with, sending them what they claim they need, but now you have introduced them to your environment. Okay, you created a channel for them. You have created, a virtual space to communicate in. You have created a folder for you to provide information. All of this, it's your world. And actually, you could switch it off whenever you decide to, right? So that's a great benefit as well, because you can also track all of that. And not only on the customer side, but also on your side as a business owner, and you have certain control over what they see, how they see it, when they actually see it. I have a rule in the back end of when I'm working on like a strategic or a business plan. I have it, it's sitting there, I'm constantly working on it, but I switch on when the client is able to actually see it, because sometimes you're just not done and you don't want the questions right away. So when you're ready for questions, you kind of switch it on, and that's what happens. And I can allow them to be able to. Sometimes, depending on the tools that you are using, you can have one section hidden, another one visible. Again, it just depends. The fifth benefit is really big in terms of the environment. We're so environmentally conscious now, on a whole, for our planet and everything. So really, by eliminating transportation and the use of employees to decrease emissions, and then you'll end up reducing the carbon footprint. So if nothing feels good to you, if that in itself feels like a reason to actually be able to look at remote work, look at virtual spaces, look at virtual offices and all of that, that if that's something that is near and dear to you, that's one big win. So all this sounds like win-win, right? And I'm sure that anyone that's listening to this, they would be able to identify ways of how their workspaces or systems would be able to benefit them. So let's go over some of the benefits for, actual people that are involved, staff. So we want to, as a company, no matter how big we are, to promote a great company culture. I did a talk last week, and we were talking about strategic planning, and we're talking about that specifically about and this was for small businesses, and why it's important, because you don't want to wait until you're a large company or a medium-sized company to put certain things in place. You want to have your company culture, your mission, your vision, all of that. You want to know where you're going. You want to plan how you want to get there. Even though it's small, you want to put it down. You want to write it down. So company culture plays a big role in that. Hiring, if it's even the first person you hire in your company, or if it's your contractor that's working for you, whether an independent contractor or someone else that owns their own company, if you have your way of doing your own thing, as a business, and you have your culture, this is how you onboard staff, this is how you allow, here are your SOPs, your processes, and your procedures. And if you have those things in place, not only it's impressive, but that person would normally sort of conform to that, because you have a system that's in place. And if not, you could talk about it, but great company culture is good because your company will be in a good light because you have it together, basically. As a business owner, this is one thing that a virtual workspace for you, it can decrease your reliance on emails. I don't know about anyone that's listening, but for the most part, as small businesses, you do get a lot of emails. Why? Because you go and you sign up for things because you want to learn, and then now, because you signed up for one thing, you start getting a whole lot of emails, and then you're trying to get clients, so your email is out there, and then therefore you may have customer emails, you have emails from your partners, or other resources that you get with a product and services from. You have emails that's pertaining to things that you must do. My point is, you have a lot of emails, and sometimes you might have the tools, but you may not have the time to sit down and to really organize your email, where you can actually write rules and things go into what boxes and all of that. So decreasing your emails, or you relying on your emails, that's pretty big. For me, when I go into my workspace and I click on whether it's a client or it's a project, or if it's something that specific to myself and say one of my interns, and we're just talking about this one topic, I am able to go into it and just look at the thread that's pertaining to just that one thing. I'm also able to look if we shared any information, any files, if there's any follow-ups, and we try, if we're outside of that environment we created, to create tags so that it can go right back to it. What I'm trying to do there is to create order, so that I don't have to go back and search on an email. It so happens, unfortunately, I haven't gotten to the point where everything is fully automated. Um, and can you imagine if that was the case? But it has decreased my reliance on email so much, where I can just go outside of an email and be able to quickly answer a question, whether that's for staff or that's for a client or that's for something else. So I'm able to group different tasks, different projects, even different customers or so in one that workspace, in that world. Again, you need time to implement all of this and to set up your rules in that way for it to work. The business. There's a benefit to the business because having these tools in place, it boosts workflow and it eliminates silos. I know a lot of times as business owners, you're working alone as a small business, but there's oftentimes when you are working, you have a small team, and they might, because you're working remotely, they're all somewhere else. Whether that's 2 people, it's just you and someone else, or it's you and 5 people. You want to eliminate the silos, and how that is, how you want to do that is because you have all these collaboration tools. You can have a main platform within your virtual world, workspace, where everyone is speaking and type in what they want. You can actually make a call from there. You can do a video conference. You can have a meeting on the fly. It's literally as if you were working in a corporation or in some other larger business or so. When you go in and you log in and you have all of your tools, it's like an intranet. That was an older term, and I'm pretty sure that we still have it around, but it's, Workspace is actually just another way of putting that. So you have all your tools there. It really works because it boosts productivity and workflow so people can actually work, and it eliminates silo. Your customers, just by having your external connectivity to your customer, for them to know that they can reach out to you at any given time, not necessarily that you will have a response for them right away, but if you have systems in place, then that customer could get, if it's after hours, then they can get an automated response that actually tags their name, as if, if Sidoni texts you, then your text message is coming back to say, hello, Sidoni, we're operating after business hours. First thing in the morning, we will respond to you and get to you. That's certainly a possibility. Other possibilities, it's the same thing with emails. If they want to send emails, you can automate your emails where your customer will get a response. It seems very personalized, even though it really is a standard automated email. But there, it's just letting them know that, hey, we received your email and we will get back to you within X amount of time frame. And that works. That works because it's a great benefit when your customer, again, we're all talking about customer engagement here and how you can really use your tools in order to be able to promote that and keep your customers. So what are some of the application that the Workspace offers? You have email automation, which is pretty big. You have cloud storage, so where you could store anything, and you can also share as you are storing. collaboration. So you can collaborate with your team, you can collaborate with your partners, vendors, you can collaborate. I must admit, the first time I was introduced to one of these workspace collaborative tools was myself. I was working with another management consulting firm. Well, they approached me and they asked me if I would come be on board with them to go after a government contract. And I said yes, and they introduced me to their tool that they use for collaboration. And though I was new to it, I'm always interested in learning about technologies, and I thought it was impressive how they had everything laid out. And it was nice because we were able to collaborate and we weren't sending emails back and forth. We were just really, they really knew how to use this tool. Meetings, of course, you have applications, you have meetings in there, and you have calendar integration, you have customer portals, and of course, instant messaging. All of these you have and more. Some other key features for you to consider, it would be activity feeds. When you're logged in, whatever the activity is, you will see it. If that's something that you flagged or tagged or added that it should notify you when this happened, you will get that news feed. Discussion threads, you can always go back to see, all right, where did this start? My example just now with my interns or so, looking at the entire thread to see what needs to be done, what files we shared, and all of that. You have mobile access. That's another thing that's really big because we know that we're on our phones all the time. So anything that you're doing, try to incorporate mobile access. And the other big thing it's here and we need to be aware of it, is accessibility. Make sure that whatever tools that you are incorporating, you have some form of accessibility. A workspace will allow that. It will give you that. Sometimes you have to do it as an add-on, but it's an option that is there for you. So let's quickly look at some examples of workspaces. These are all companies that most of us are aware of. These companies, we have Slack, Microsoft 365, we have Zoho that has so many tools as well, Amazon Workspaces, and Google Workspace. Now, what I'm going to do next time is to really compare two of the biggest workspaces that's out there, and that is Google Workspace and Microsoft. I've done research, and hands down, people love Microsoft tools. They love Google tools. There are other systems out there, the ones that I just showed, but these are the top ones. So why not compare the two and just to see? And what you'll discover is that you'll find benefits in both. It just matters your preference. That's really it. And what you can do, they're also integrating with each other now. So that is pretty cool. We will talk about that next time. Things to consider. With a virtual workspace, your team can do everything in one single platform. And that's what you really want. Your workplaces are becoming more collaborative and remote. So just having a virtual workspace, it just gets you ahead of the game. Most businesses will run smoother and productive. We already know that. You just have to be effective. And how are you really effective? It's when you have a system in place. You want to have a system for communication and collaboration, and you want to make sure that the timing is right when you're rolling out anything. In order for you to achieve any goal at all as a small business or as yourself personally, you just have to have a plan. You have to have a plan.